Put yourself in this man's place for a moment. He's driving one of the most awesomely powerful automobiles ever conceived of. His job, as well as his greatest pleasure, is challenging the masters of American motorsports bumper to bumper at speeds stopping 200 miles per hour. His name is Dale Earnhardt, a relative newcomer to Grand National racing. He's running this year in defense of his phenomenal 1980 NASCAR championship.
The doors really opened up for me in 1978 and 79 with Austin. We won the Rookie of the Year in 1979 and won one race and won 4 poles, and we had a good year that year, and turned around in 1980 and everybody was asking me what I was going to do and was worried about the sophomore jinx and things like that, and we just went on and raced positive and thought about winning races and didn't really worry about big talking about sophomore jinx, things like that, and ended up winning the championship. Won 5 races that year and the championship too, so established myself as a pretty good driver, I think, and I feel like I've got the ability to stay in it for a good 5, 6, 8, 10 years, hopefully.
This is the story of the man, Dale Earnhardt, the young champion of Grand National competition, known around the NASCAR circuit as One Tough Customer. To be competitive in Grand National racing means meeting the demands of a grueling 31-event season that takes its toll on driver, crew, and machine. Without sponsorship and a delicately coordinated team effort, great driving alone isn't enough to win a NASCAR championship. Earnhardt has behind him one of the best teams in the business. It's in this shop that his bright yellow and blue #2 Wrangler Pontiac is prepared for racing, literally from the ground up. Often the car is completely rebuilt inside and out, from one Sunday's event to the next. Earnhardt enjoys rare camaraderie with his crew, both on and off the track. Dale's crew chief and close friend, Doug Richard.
Like all along, you have to have, teamwork, and you got to put all your strokes together, and I think that's, one part of it, to really know your crew and really put faith behind them. He's done it all himself before, and it's in his contract. He's not supposed to do the work, but it's kind of hard for someone just to break off what he's been doing all his life and just, watch someone else do it all the time.
While few drivers in NASCAR history have skyrocketed to the top the way he has, Earnhardt's background is not uncommon among the ranks of the NASCAR elite. He grew up here in Kannapolis, North Carolina, where, like so many small towns, stock car racing is a way of life. It was in this garage behind the Earnhardt family home that Dale's father, Ralph Earnhardt, built the cars he raced to NASCAR's 1956 Late Model Sportsman Championship. Active at a time when men like Richard Petty were just getting their start, Ralph didn't live long enough to share his son's victories, but he remains the greatest influence on this young champion's career.
Dale was kind of hard-headed, he was too anxious, he didn't want to go slow like Ralph wanted him to and do it on his own, Ralph wouldn't help him because he wanted him to work for it and, get it on his own. He wanted Dale to see how hard it was before he wouldn't just build a car and put him in it,
But he never would just tell me, well, do it this way, do it that way. He'd more or less let me form my own style of driving, and when I'd mess up or have problems, I would go to him, or he would say something to me about, well, you should have done it this way, or, it would have been worked out better if you'd have done it this way. He gave me hints and things. So I got on into late model sportsman racing after he died, and I really didn't know how much he was helping me until he did die, and he weren't there to help me. There's a lot of times, I needed him to say, well, what now, Pop? What should I do now? But he weren't there.
Ralph Earnhardt was the last of a self-reliant breed of men. And while he never made the leap from late model sportsman to Grand National competition, his highly successful NASCAR career earned him the nickname Ironheart. Dale got his first feel for the winner's circle with his father.
1980 Grand National champion.
But in Charlotte's sportsman race, he'd settle for second under the yellow flag, denying him a last shot at the lead.
Maybe it'll be just like last October when we finished second on Saturday in a sportsman race and won the 500. Maybe we can win the 600. You know, when I'm not racing, you got to relax and do what you can to relax. I just enjoy being myself, and you know, pretty much like anybody else in the world. I go fishing, take my kids to do things. We go out fishing, water skiing together, and playing on the lake. We live on the lake here, and I enjoy pretty much simple things in life.
There's nothing simple, though, about how Dale Earnhardt earns a living. Inside of 24 hours in Charlotte this weekend, he'll race a total of 900 miles, virtually all of it with his foot to the floorboard. Sunday's Grand National race, the World 600, is perhaps the most physically demanding event on the NASCAR circuit. 300 laps of this high-banked 1.5-mile track on what promises to be one of the hottest days of the year. In 1980, he had to hold off a late-season charge from three-time Grand National champion Cale Yarborough, but he led in the point standing from the second race to the last.
We didn't beat Bobby, did we?
Earnhardt is under the greatest pressure he's known as a professional racing driver as he mounts a comeback effort to repeat as Grand National champion. So far, though, the 1981 season has been a frustrating one for the defending champion and his Wrangler team.
I don't know.
They've run regularly with the leaders, but have yet to win a Grand National race. Still, they're so close in the standings that a couple of wins would put them back on top. Most drivers would consider Earnhardt's accomplishments this year a triumph. For the defending Grand National champion, they pose a greater challenge. Earnhardt qualified his Wrangler Pontiac at an average speed of 156.639 miles per hour, putting him on the pole at least temporarily. But as the track surface got continually faster, Cale Yarborough came right back with a faster time. And there are many more qualifiers to come. Grand National racing is so highly competitive, with so many lead changes, that pole position rarely determines the outcome of a race. Still, there's a good deal of prestige and a strong psychological advantage to turning the fastest lap. By the end of qualifying, Neil Bonnet is sitting on the pole with a check for $16,000 in prize money already to his credit, and the race is still a day away. Come the end of the workday, a racetrack like any place else closes up shop for the night, giving the drivers 14 or 15 hours in which to anticipate the moment when the green flag will drop, launching them on 600 miles of high-speed racing. Normally, they sit it out in nameless hotels and crowded restaurants. This time, Earnhardt is lucky. This is his hometown, and now he's headed for the one place where he can truly relax: home. Race day dawns clear but stiflingly hot, and it's still early morning. As Dale Earnhardt leaves for the track, there can be only one thing on his mind.
Thinking about how your car handling worked in the last practice, and, you know, what you think the car is going to do today. It's a little bit of question still in your mind sometimes the way the car is working, if it wasn't working just right the last practice. You know, wondering if it's going to work good today as it did yesterday or the last time you ran it. So. I'm Dale Earnhardt. I'm gonna park Dale, I didn't recognize you. That sort of sounded like I had a big head, didn't it? I'm Dale Earnhardt. I'm gonna park in here anyway.
To drive in a Grand National event is to race with the very best. This is a hard-charging fraternity based on consummate professionalism and all-out competition.
As far as close friends, I think Bobby Allison and Richard Petty, those guys probably the closest friends. Bobby Allison especially. Bobby and Richard has helped me a lot in my rookie season, and I've got other relationships just like the one I've got with Darrell Waltrip. He and I are pretty much rivals. You know, we just like to beat each other, and you know, we pick a kid, but when we get on a racetrack, we race for, you know, tooth and nail and the whole bit.
Earnhardt and Waltrip belong to the new regime in NASCAR competition. Waltrip has come close to the championship a few times already, but he's still looking for his first Grand National crown. The rivalry between these two young drivers is already legendary on the NASCAR circuit.
It's up to the drivers and the cars now. We had a scheduled pit stop, which we almost come in for. We was going to get scheduled left side tires and filled up with fuel. We could be able to go the rest of the way, but we was able to take the caution and get 4 tires. And now it's up to the drivers now.
Twice every season, the NASCAR teams make an excursion from the great oval superspeedways for an all-out assault on the treacherous road course at Riverside, California. Here, the NASCAR spirit of no-holds-barred competition and these monstrously powerful modified stock machines must meet the challenge of constant accelerating, shifting, and braking, of great variations in the terrain, and of having to turn to the right as well as to the left on this tight, twisting track. Today's race was a constant battle between Earnhardt and Waltrip, who regained the lead as the cars came around to take the white flag, giving Earnhardt only one more lap to make his move. As they fought their way through the S's and down the back straight, both pit crews waited anxiously for their cars to come back into view on the last turn. But Waltrip anticipated Earnhardt's slingshot move to the inside and cut him off to preserve his 3rd Riverside win in the last 4 NASCAR road races. Win or lose these days, Dale Earnhardt is a champion who's worked hard and given everything he's had in order to realize his dream.
Yeah. She's out there in the infield.
There are guys like I was in 1977 and 78 before I got hooked up at Austral. I was looking for the big chance and looking for a big sponsor deal to come along. And I was racing on credit and, you know, borrowed time more or less. And I was pretty much in debt when I did get hooked up at Austral. And if it wasn't for my friends and family, I probably wouldn't have been able to race at all. But those guys are racing like that today, and they're looking for the big sponsor deals or big chance deals to get a good ride with a good team or established team, and you know, whatever. And you know, they are just as much as part of the sport as I am with a big team.
In Charlotte, the pre-race ceremonies are honoring Memorial Day and local hero Dale Earnhardt, whose home in Kannapolis is only a few miles away. As if the pressure of the moment were not intense enough on this young champion, the race sponsors are offering a bonus of $100,000 in prize money should Earnhardt win before his hometown crowd. In special tribute to the Earnhardts, an early replica bearing Ralph's number 8 bridges the generations of racers on the parade lap for the World 600. In the final few moments, as drivers and crews routinely prepare for the start of another contest, it is sometimes possible to forget the enormous risks involved each time these men take to the track.
Really, I guess the biggest thing I worry about, of course, you know, I worry that Dale might get hurt, but that's in the background, you know, of my mind. I try not to think about that, but I worry about him being able to handle disappointments, and like this year's been, you know, he done so good for 2 years and then having such luck this year, and I was worried about him being able to handle it, and, you know, but he knows, I mean, I know he knows how it is, but I was just worried about him staying in good spirits, you know, and keeping his chin up.
This is it. This is what it all comes down to. After the long week of preparation and qualifying, the men are finally alone in their machines for a few fleeting moments of suspended calm, awaiting that first hair-raising dive into turn 1.
Well, when you talk about pressures, there's really different kinds. Racing pressure itself puts adrenaline into me, you know, pumps my adrenaline up. I like it better when I'm racing close with somebody. I did it last year a lot with Cale, and for the championship, it seemed just to make things a little bit better when you did beat them, and you know, a little more frustrating when you lost. So that kind of pressure I love. The pressure of this year has changed a lot as far as having a sponsor, and you promoted the sponsor, trying to get him to the people to sponsor you, like Wrangler, and when we did give him the sponsor, so you feel like you got to produce. So it put a little extra pressure on you doing that, plus being the defending Grand National champion. You know, the pressure is on a little bit more this year than what it was last year in that aspect. As far as the racing pressure, racing against Darrell Waltrip or any of the other drivers is about the same and just as enjoyable as always.
Earnhardt makes his intentions clear on the very first turn where he drafts Richard Petty, dips low into turn 2 and passes both Petty and Harry Gant to move immediately into third place behind Cale Yarborough and Neil Bonnet, who shot out from the pole position to secure the lead. As they come back around the start-finish straight, he closes the gap behind Yarborough, then pulls alongside into turn 1. He's drafting Bonnet, and by the time the pack hits the back straight, Dale Earnhardt is leading the World 600, having moved up from 5th place to 1st after just a lap and a half of this grueling 300-lap race. Yarborough then takes Bonnet. So as Earnhardt leads the pack into turn 1, he's followed by Yarborough, Bonnet, Gant, and Richard Petty.
I did without a lot of things in life, just to race, and I enjoy it. And I'm more happy racing than I am going to a race or flying or doing anything else. I'm happier when I'm in the car racing, and that's what that's what I live to do. I reckon, and that's all I've ever wanted to do. And I think that's going to determine when I stop racing, is when that joy stops or when the enjoyment of it stops. I think I'll stop racing then when I don't want to do it anymore.
Perhaps the most critical moments of a race occur not when the car is on the track, but when it's in the pits, where a few precious seconds can mean the difference between victory and defeat. It should not be surprising, then, that during Dale Earnhardt's 1980 Grand National Championship season, his young crew also took top honors in the Sears Craftsman National Pit Crew Competition. Out of 10,320 possible laps in 1980, Earnhardt completed substantially more of them than any other NASCAR driver. And of the 31 events, his Wrangler Pontiac was running at the end of all but 4. While the driver can communicate with his crew by radio, once he's back out on the track, it's his race to win or lose. After 100 miles of racing, Earnhardt has returned to the track from his pit stop, still leading this World 600. But he's followed closely by Neil Bonnet, Cale Yarborough, and Harry Gant. Grand National Racing is a grassroots phenomenon that has become the most popular motorsport in America. The members of NASCAR's special fraternity are known across the country for their tireless dedication to their fans through charity work, benefits, and all manner of public appearances. They are truly local heroes everywhere they go.
Known him since this little kid anyway. Most people around here have. Because he's growing up over on the hill.
Well, like Richard Petty, Dale Earnhardt. Who else, Daddy? Who else? Who else? Who else? Oh, now I know. It's Neil Bond, Richard Petty, that's all. I guess that's all.
The huge grandstands and open infield areas of the Charlotte Motor Speedway are filled this Memorial Day weekend with thousands of fans who press to the fences to pick out their favorite drivers each time the pack passes by. And all these devoted fans have experienced the bottomless feeling of straining to find a particular car. That one lap just doesn't come around. One look at Dale Earnhardt's face as he sits helplessly by tells the same sad story. His crew finally diagnoses the problem as a faulty distributor, but Earnhardt knows he's seen the leaders come around too many times to be able to mount a serious effort, even when he gets back into the race. And perhaps in his frustration, he recalls the exhilaration of what might have been until a $2 part took him out of the running. After Neil Bonnet's infield spin, Bobby Allison went on to win his second World 600. And the season goes on. 2 weeks later, they're in College Station, Texas, for the NASCAR 400.
My future really depends on how long I can drive a race car, how strong I can be when I'm driving. The rest of this season, we're not that far out of the points. We're still optimistic about winning the point championship this year, 2 years in a row. I feel like we can do it or got a good chance of doing it. And, a lot of people say, well, Earnhardt's not doing as good this year, but our team's coming around as far as our luck's coming around. Our cars are doing better. We've been a lot more competitive in the last several races, and things are looking better for the end of the year, so I still feel like we've got a shot at the points.
Second place in Texas adds crucial points to his championship effort. When he gets back home, though, there are matters at least as important as winning Grand National races. We might very well be watching the next NASCAR dynasty in the making.
It's rough, ain't it?
Yeah.
After 2 such sensational seasons, from Rookie of the Year to Grand National Champion, Dale Earnhardt is now hanging tough in his bid for a second consecutive championship. Based on a strong summer showing, that goal is now well within his grasp.